Food 1, black coffee. Not because of caffeine, because of a compound called chlorogenic acid. When you drink black coffee in a fasted state, or even before your first meal, chlorogenic acid directly activates AMPK, the same cellular energy sensor that intense fasted exercise activates, the same enzyme that suppresses mTOR and opens the autophagy pathway. Research published in the journal Autophagy confirmed that coffee consumption, black, without additives, measurably increases autophagic flux in human liver cells. The effect is real, documented, and begins within 30 minutes of consumption. The critical word is black. The moment you add milk, cream, or a sweetener, you trigger the cephalic phase insulin response, a preemptive insulin release that reactivates mTOR and shuts the autophagy window before it opens. Black coffee is an autophagy activator. Coffee with anything in it is not. This channel exists to give you the science your doctor never had time to explain, in a way specific enough to change what you do tomorrow morning. Subscribe so you never miss what comes next. Food 2, extra virgin olive oil. Most people think of olive oil as healthy fat. What they do not know is that olive oil contains a compound called oleocanthal, a natural phenol that directly inhibits mTOR activity in a way that researchers at the Salk Institute have described as mimicking the effects of rapamycin, one of the most studied longevity compounds currently in research. Oleocanthal suppresses mTOR. mTOR suppression activates autophagy. This is not a metaphor. This is a documented molecular pathway. But here is the detail that makes the difference between olive oil that works and olive oil that does not. Heat destroys oleocanthal. High-temperature cooking eliminates the compound entirely. Extra virgin olive oil consumed cold, drizzled over food, used in dressings, eaten raw, preserves its autophagy-activating compounds. The same oil heated in a pan for cooking loses the effect cold. Extra virgin. That is the version your cells can use. Food 3, green tea. Green tea contains a polyphenol called epigallocatechin gallate, EGCG. This compound has been studied more extensively than almost any other food-derived molecule in the context of autophagy and cellular aging. EGCG directly inhibits a protein called class Y PI3K, part of the signaling cascade that leads to mTOR activation. When class Y PI3K is inhibited, mTOR quiets. When mTOR quiets, Beclin-1 activates. Beclin-1 is the protein that initiates the autophagy identification cycle, the same process that begins at hour 12 of a fast. A study published in Autophagy in 2014 showed that EGCG induced autophagy in multiple human cell lines, with the effect strongest in cells under metabolic stress. Translation: green tea is most effective at triggering autophagy when consumed during a fasting window or in the morning before the first meal. 2 to 3 cups of properly brewed green tea. Not green tea extract capsules, not green tea flavoring, brewed whole leaf or high-quality bagged tea where the EGCG content is intact. Food 4, turmeric curcumin. Curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, has been studied for decades in the context of inflammation. But its autophagy mechanism is distinct from its anti-inflammatory effects and almost never discussed. Curcumin inhibits the PI3K mTOR signaling pathway, directly suppressing mTOR at the molecular level through the same upstream pathway that EGCG targets. Research published in the journal Molecular Cancer Therapeutics documented that curcumin-induced autophagy is measurable, dose-dependent, and occurs in both cancerous and healthy cell lines. The absorption problem is real. Curcumin has low bioavailability when consumed alone, meaning it passes through the digestive system before being absorbed in useful quantities. 2 solutions that the research supports. First, consuming curcumin with black pepper, piperine, the active compound in black pepper, increases curcumin absorption by up to 2,000% according to a study in Plantamedica. Second, consuming it with fat, specifically olive oil, further enhances absorption because curcumin is fat-soluble. Turmeric with black pepper and olive oil. That combination is not a wellness trend. It is the biochemically optimized delivery system for one of the most potent natural mTOR inhibitors in food. If this is giving you a completely different picture of what food can actually do inside your cells, tap the like button right now. It tells me this level of science is exactly what you came here for. Food 5, spermidine, found in wheat germ. Aged cheese, mushrooms, soybeans, of all 7 foods on this list, spermidine has the most direct and specific autophagy activation mechanism. It is not an indirect mTOR suppressor. It does not work through AMPK. It directly induces autophagy through a pathway that researchers at the University of Graz identified as completely independent of the nutrient-sensing pathways that fasting uses. Spermidine is a polyamine, a naturally occurring compound found in high concentrations in wheat germ, aged cheeses like Parmesan, shiitake mushrooms, and soybeans. It works by inhibiting a protein called EP300, a histone acetyltransferase, which directly de-represses autophagy genes. In plain terms, spermidine unlocks genes that your cells normally keep switched off between meals. A landmark study published in Nature Medicine showed that spermidine supplementation extended lifespan in yeast, worms, flies, and mice, and that the lifespan extension was dependent on autophagy activation. Remove the autophagy genes, and spermidine's longevity effect disappeared entirely. The mechanism was confirmed. More recent human observational data from a study of 800 adults in Austria found that higher dietary spermidine intake was associated with lower overall mortality and reduced incidence of cardiovascular disease. With a dose-response relationship, more spermidine in the diet, less biological aging, 2 tablespoons of wheat germ daily. A handful of shiitake mushrooms 3 times a week, a small serving of aged Parmesan with your meals. These are not supplements. They are whole foods with the highest naturally occurring spermidine concentrations available in a regular diet. Food 6, berberine, found in barberries. Oregon grape. Berberine is the compound that longevity researchers have nicknamed natural metformin because its cellular mechanism almost exactly mirrors the most widely prescribed diabetes drug in the world. And the mechanism that makes metformin relevant to longevity is its AMPK activation. Berberine activates AMPK directly and powerfully. AMPK suppresses mTOR. mTOR suppression activates autophagy. The pathway is identical to fasting-induced autophagy, just triggered by a food compound rather than the absence of food. A 2020 review in Frontiers in Pharmacology specifically identified berberine as one of the most potent natural autophagy inducers currently identified in research, noting that its effect on AMPK-mTOR signaling was comparable in magnitude to pharmaceutical AMPK activators. Berberine is found in barberries, small tart berries used in Persian cuisine, and in Oregon grapefruit. Most people access it through standardized extract. But the food source is real, and even small amounts of barberry consumed consistently deliver meaningful berberine doses that activate the autophagy pathway. Food 7, resveratrol, found in red grapes. Blueberries, dark chocolate. Resveratrol activates a family of proteins called sirtuins, specifically S-SIRT1. Sirtuin activation does not directly suppress mTOR in the same way as the previous compounds. Instead, it activates a parallel autophagy pathway through FOXO transcription factors, the longevity genes that fasted exercise activates, the ones associated with extended lifespan in every organism they have been studied in. SIRT1 activation through resveratrol specifically upregulates Beclin-1 expression, the same formin protein that initiates the autophagy identification cycle at the start of a fast. More Beclin-1 means more autophagy initiation. More autophagy initiation means faster cellular cleaning even in a fed state. The practical application: resveratrol is most bioavailable in whole food form consumed with fat. A small cluster of red grapes or blueberries eaten after a meal containing olive oil or avocado delivers resveratrol in a form your gut can actually absorb. Dark chocolate with 85% cocoa contains meaningful resveratrol alongside flavonoids that independently support AMPK activation. Here is what these 7 foods have in common. Every single one of them activates autophagy through one of 3 pathways: AMPK activation, direct mTOR suppression, or sirtuin activation. These are the same 3 pathways that fasting and fasted exercise activate. The difference is that food-derived compounds can activate them in the fed state, extending your cellular cleaning window beyond the fasting hours into the eating window itself. This does not replace fasting. A 16-hour fast activates autophagy more deeply and more systemically than any food compound alone. But for the hours between your first and last meal, the hours when autophagy would normally be suppressed, these 7 foods keep elements of the repair process running in the background. Black coffee before your first meal. Olive oil cold on your food. Green tea between meals. Turmeric with black pepper and fat. Wheat germ or mushrooms for spermidine. Barberries or berberine-rich foods. Red grapes or dark chocolate in the afternoon. 7 compounds. 7 different mechanisms. All working toward the same outcome. A cellular environment that spends more hours in repair mode and fewer hours in the locked-down, fat-storing, debris-accumulating state that most people's bodies live in permanently. Which of these 7 did you have no idea was connected to autophagy? Comment below. I want to know which one surprised you most. And if you want to understand exactly what your cells do at every stage of autophagy, how deep the repair goes when these compounds are combined with your fasting window, that video is right here. Watch it next. Your body repairs itself every single day. Now you know exactly what to feed it while it does.